Avatar: The Last Airbender is being remade for Netflix.
Live
with
action?
The original creators attached, which I was super excited by because that movie, they were not part of it at all. I mean, I think they had like some consulting and then like they just don't have it. So I was super excited when Netflix like, hey, we're letting you guys remake this thing and you have the control. But the story that came out yesterday is Avatar co-creators Mike and Brian depart Netflix's live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender remake series. I got the open letter here. This one is from Mike. Says, an open letter to Avatar: The Last Airbender fans. Many of you have been asking me for updates about Avatar live-action Netflix series. I can finally tell you that I am no longer involved in the project. In June of this year, after 2 years of development work, Brian and I made the difficult decision to leave the production. When Brian and I signed up to the project in 2018, we were hired as executive producers and showrunners. In a joint announcement for the series, Netflix said it was committed to honoring our vision for this retelling and to supporting us in creating the series. And we expressed how excited we were for the opportunity to be at the helm. Unfortunately, things did not go as hoped. Look, things happen. Productions are challenging. Unforeseen events arise. Plans have to change, and when those things have happened at other points during my career, I like to be like an air nomad and adapt. I do my best to go with the flow no matter what obstacle was put in my way. But even an air nomad knows when it's time to cut their losses and move on. I started to reevaluate what is truly important in my life and what I wanted to do with what's left of it. I took some advice from Uncle Iroh. I looked inward and started asking myself the big question: who are you and what do you want? I also sought wisdom from Stoic philosophers who were big on differentiating between what is within our control and what isn't. I realized I couldn't control the creative direction of the series, but I could control how I responded. So I chose to leave the project. It was the hardest professional decision I've ever had to make, and certainly not one that I took lightly. But it was necessary for my happiness and creative integrity. Who knows? Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar has the potential to be good. It might turn out to be a show many of you end up enjoying. But what I can be certain about is whatever version ends up on screen, it will not be what Brian and I envisioned or intended to make. I also want to be clear that this doesn't mean the end of my involvement in the Avatar universe. These stories and characters are important to me, and the renewed interest and excitement in Avatar and Korra have been inspiring to see. May we all keep moving and come to a better place. Thanks for reading and for your continued enthusiasm for Avatar universe. With gratitude, Michael Dante de Martino. So, yeah. It really sucked to read that because, I mean, I'm super excited by that. I mean, I'm still a little bit excited by it, but if those original creators who, you know, they pulled off that amazing show on Nickelodeon, if they're like, this isn't what we want, I mean, we have to just, you know, there's so many examples of authors who are consulted and then studio executives like, no, we think we should age these characters up. We should make it sexy. We should say shit and, you know, do a lot of that kind of stuff. That's what kids want. We know what kids want. You don't, you know?
Yeah.
That's what happened to Percy Jackson. I know that the author there was like, he was like consulted and he said, hey, here's all the terrible things you're doing. Then those movies came out. They did terribly. And he at least has the you know, integrity to say like, look, I tried. They don't give us control of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what really sucks is that it seemed like Netflix was super happy with, you know, what they were going to bring to the table. And they gave them that control. And then now it seems like they're not getting it. And they're just like, all right, well, fine. We're stepping away.
Yeah, I mean, usually it doesn't work out when you remove the authors. But sometimes you get The Shining or Clockwork Orange.
True, which are separately can
or
be just as
2001:
great.
Space Odyssey, you know?
I mean, you know, there's another statement here by Brian, who I'll read his statement too because I think it's important to get it all. So he says, Brian says, before I get to the crux of the statement, I would like to make it clear that I'm very aware and appreciative of the fact that I am exceedingly fortunate position and that following issues are indeed good problems to have, even more now that we are in the grips of a global pandemic and creating an economy which have left millions unemployed. With that crucial context, here's the big news from my little world. They chose to leave Avatar, the series they helped to create together in 2002. We have no involvement in the project moving forward. This is probably the most difficult decision I've ever made, but there's no doubt in my mind it was absolutely the right choice. When Netflix brought me on board to run this series alongside Mike 2 years ago, they made a very public promise to support our vision. Unfortunately, there was no follow-through on that promise. Though I got to work with some great individuals, both on Netflix's side and our own small development team, the general handling of the project created what I felt was a negative and unsupportive environment. To be clear, this was not a simple matter of us not getting our way. Mike and I are collaborative people. We did not need all of the ideas to come from us. As long as we felt like those ideas were in line with the spirit and integrity of Avatar, we would have happily embraced them. However, we ultimately came to the belief that we would not be able to meaningfully guide the direction of the series. Though I am profoundly disappointed by how things have turned out, there are wonderful, talented people who are still working on the series, some of whom Mike and I personally hired and got to know well during our time on the project. We worked very hard together towards a shared dream of how special this adaptation could be. I want to see them employed, and I hope they get the chance to do their best work on the series. Perhaps the team that remains might still be able to make something fans will of the original and an entirely new audience can enjoy. But by and large, I have an incredibly charmed career and very grateful for it. I'm enormously lucky for the amazing global community of fans that have grown around the shows Mike and I created and run together. I will continue to be deeply involved in the Avatar universe, telling the stories my partner and I would want to tell in the way we want to tell them. I will put my time, energy, and talents towards the project that give me the most fulfillment and where I am afforded trust and respect. Life is too short to do otherwise, Brian.
Do they have any ownership of the series?
What's that?
I figured Nickelodeon would own the series.
Well, it's in collaboration with Nickelodeon, the Netflix deal.
Yeah, but like he's talking about doing other Avatar projects. Like,
yeah, I mean they can still do that. I think they still work on the comics or something like that, and they could still do something with Nickelodeon probably if they wanted to.
Sure.
I mean, to be fair, when they did Korra, Nickelodeon fucked them over, saying, "Well, you can get this one season. All right, now do another one. All right, do 2 more, but we're gonna put them online." You know, like they got a lot of pushback.
It was a lot of like, well, why didn't you just tell us to do this? We could have just done a story and been done with it, you know, instead of like, well, how much do we need to tell? What are we gonna do?
Should we leave it open ended in case we get 2 more seasons later?
How closed off should this episode be to this finale?
It's just so strange because everything I've heard about Netflix is that Netflix is pretty hands off. They're like, hey, we're hiring you to do something. Here's money. We put it on our platform.
Yeah.
And I've never heard that not the case, you know? So it seems very strange that, I mean, maybe it's just like how popular Avatar has been on Netflix, and then Korra's going to be...
have half the story.
Yeah, true. I just like... The thing at the end when he said, like, you know, I want to work on something where I'm afforded respect and stuff like that is... I don't know. Maybe they just weren't... Felt like they were treated right, or...
There's also the line he had about... what was the first one where he said he wanted creative integrity, right?
Yeah.
Like, it makes me curious on, like, well, what happened that he wanted to leave because he wasn't getting to have the creative integrity that he wanted, you know? Like, obviously, it's kind of more similar to what you were saying about, like, maybe with Percy Jackson, possibly, where it's like, well, here's what we believe should be happening. They're like, no, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, well, that's not what we think Avatar should be. And they're like, well, then we're going to step back, you know?
Do you know how involved, like, the Fullmetal Alchemist creators were in its live-action adaptation?
No.
Because that was a Netflix thing, right?
I believe so.
That was a Netflix thing, and so was the Death Note.
Death Note?
Yeah.
Oh, there's like the Adam Sandler movies.
The Death Note one, not as great.
I haven't seen either one of them.
But
there's
I mean,
Adam
you
Sandler
know,
movies too that are like Netflix originals.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure Netflix is like, here, Adam Sandler, make some movies, and he's like, all right, I'm a cobbler. Like, all right.
Is that why he was like the 9th most earning male actor last year or whatever?
I don't know. I heard about the top 5.
It's crazy.
It's just that, you know, they brought them in like they were the showrunners. You know, they weren't just like consultant or like, you know, hey, you guys got any ideas? Throw them this way, and we'll try to be, you know, we'll try to be as close to what you did before, but we'll have to make some changes. Like they were in charge, you know, like a showrunner. Does everything. They're the director, you know.
It's more like Sam Raimi with Spider-Man 3, maybe, you know, where they're like, well, we need this, we need this, we need this. He's like, I wasn't gonna do all this.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta do what they say, or else I don't have this job, I guess, you know, like.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of what they went through. I don't know. I don't know what they went through. Maybe we'll get more information later on, but it sounds very professional.
They has to be professional. I mean,
both
you get this a lot. There's
creative
differences. We went another way.
Yeah, which I mean, I fully understand. You don't, you don't want to have burned bridges with like maybe they'll Netflix be like, you know what, bring you back. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, Netflix might see the fallout of this and think,
I hope so.
Maybe we bring him back.
Like James Gunn when Disney let go of James Gunn and stuff like that, and they came to terms later on, but. they didn't like burn the bridge. You know, there was a more professional thing there where maybe they can get back together and make amends to this.
I'm also not saying like, oh, you can't do a series justice without these guys there. You know, I wasn't a fan of every single decision they made on Legend of Korra. You know, like I thought Avatar is the superior series and Korra was good, not my favorite thing ever. You know, whereas Avatar is. But if they who created Avatar are saying, you know, this isn't what Avatar is about, to the point where they leave probably the biggest break they were ever going to get, that's got to be worth something.
There's got to be an issue there, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a bummer. I was super excited by it, and now I mean I'll still watch the trailer when it comes out. I'll probably still watch the show, but it's gonna have kind of hang over my head a little bit of like, it sucks, you know. I'm saying like, could you imagine if like, hey, we're doing a Star Wars thing, we brought George Lucas back in to run the show, and then George's like, hey, this isn't Star Wars, I'm leaving. I'd be like, what? Fuck you, you know. Right now, we're afforded the opportunity of not really knowing because he's not involved at all, and you know, anything that Star Wars decision is purely thrown on, you know, the people making those decisions.
Yeah.
But if like George came out and said like, you know, and to be fair, he has come out and said a couple things about it. You can read like Bob Iger's books and stuff, but it's similar in how I feel with the Avatar situation.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a thing that maybe we watch and see, and maybe they make amends and they get back together and let them have their creativity that they need or whatever with it, or we'll get what we get, and we'll see how it is, and we'll judge it based on what we get out of it, you know?
Maybe this is like them trying to snap their Netflix contacts out of it, and like this is how serious we are about, you know, this project that we're working on.
Yeah.
We're not gonna compromise our vision, you know.
Yeah. Well, it could also
for a paycheck.
It could also be. I mean, I don't know the two. Maybe they're doing things, and Netflix is like, "What? We can't do that." And they're like, "Well, this is what we need. If we can't do it, then we're not going to be here." You know, like, I don't know. Like maybe, you know, we're talking more of like maybe Netflix is wanting to do shit and pushing them. Maybe it's the other way around, where they're asking more of Netflix and what they're willing to give.
There's been rumors.
I don't know.
There's been rumors right now that there was some kind of thing where it's like they were trying to change the ethnicity of some of the main characters, and you know, that's one of the first things they said is like, we are keeping. These are, you know, the Water Tribe are Inuits, you know, that's their ethnicity. Like, this is how old they are. It's important that Aang is this age, not here, you know. The Percy Jackson thing, they, you know, I was reading a letter from the author, and he was like, yeah, you know, in this, like, 4 or 5 book story, this, like, prophecy of when he starts to where he finishes is very integral. And like, who cares? We're still in this movie right now, and we need to make it a little more sexy, so we're going to age him up, you know. So, I don't know. I've heard there was rumors about that kind of thing, and then just age as well. And it was very important to them that that's what it's supposed to be. Is, you know, I think that a lot of Hollywood studios say like, well, we don't want it necessarily to be just for kids, so let's age up a little bit so we can grab a teenage market. Then there we can get the 18 to 34 demographic. Whereas, you know, the original Avatar it's on Nickelodeon. It's a story of a boy through his boyhood.
Yeah,
you know, not even becoming a man, like saving the world as the boy Avatar. You know,
it's just pretty weird thinking because they were pretty young in Harry Potter when they started, and that series did all right.
Yeah,
no, true.
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
absolutely.
Harry Potter has that thing where like each book is a year, so they're like, look, we can't take a break filming. We have to do the next one the next year. We have to do the next one the next year. But I mean, it works with Avatar kind of because if it's doing 3 seasons, do 3 a year, you know, and it's. I know that, like, you know, Aang, that whole thing takes place in like a year, but you could fudge those numbers a little bit.
Maybe,
you know?
but you would have to fudge them because like the younger you are, the more difference a year makes, right?
Yeah.
No, and I love shows too where they do that, where as it goes on, you're growing with the same characters. You know, Harry Potter doing that. You know, Boy Meets World. Like, it'd be cool to have that where like you're growing a little bit with Aang and Korra, and, or not Korra, but because they're doing the first
Katara.
One, but Aang, Katara, Sokka, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would be cool.
Yep.